$250,000 per year from 10 vending machines? Seems impossible, right? But it's not. Not if you get the right locations. On the flip side, bad locations, they look good on paper, but they end up taking all of your money and your time. The best vending machine locations, they give you financial freedom and they make your life easy. The worst ones, they drain your bank account, they stop you from scaling, and they kill your dreams. So let's look at the top 3 best vending locations, and let's look at the top 3, let's call them the bottom 3 worst vending locations. So who am I? I am James Brown. I'm a former vending executive who's managed one of the largest portfolios of vending machines, office coffee accounts, and micro markets in the world. And I've looked at tens of thousands of machines over my career to gather this information on what makes a great location and what makes a poor location. Okay, let's get into it. So the first and most consistent, probably overall, that I've ever seen are rec centers. Think YMCAs, big places that have pools and all kinds of activity centers in them, like squash and racquetball and, treadmills and basketball courts and things of that nature. These places have a ton of traffic and you need to get a location near the front entrance, and those machines are going to deliver serious results. There's also a lot of children here, and anywhere that there's kids, there's impulse buys when they go by and see chocolate bar, candy, and things like that. So go out and get the rec centers. They are going to deliver. The bigger, the better. And most of these, they're going to have vending machines already, but often they are serviced poorly by the provider and they're ripe for the taking. Also, to service these at a truly high level, keep an eye on events that are going to happen. Tournament schedules, anything like that, that's going to have an influx of people, and that's going to turn into huge money for you. The next are hospitals, especially places that have 24-hour traffic and they have captive audiences. Think waiting rooms. Think emergency rooms where people have to sit for a long time in an unfortunate circumstance. And we all know that stress drives impulse buys. And I don't want you to think of this in a negative light. You're providing a service, right? When I say impulse buys, just, if you go to the emergency room without a plan, right? Something bad has happened. So you may not have eaten. It may be in the middle of the night. You're not stopping on the way to the emergency room to get food. So there's insane potential in some of these spots, even cafeterias that run during the day. And then there's people that are near those cafeterias at night. You can make really good money by putting a vending machine there. And of course, always near entrances where people enter and exit buildings. Be very careful about mapping these places out when you actually get the business. And if you do it right, you're going to make a crazy amount of money from these. Some of the best accounts I've ever seen. Third is schools, and I'm talking about K-12 schools that have younger children. They're numerous. They're everywhere. These schools are everywhere, and they're fairly easy to get into. They sometimes have healthy restrictions, but it doesn't matter. They're still going to perform at an extremely high level. I'm starting to see a theme here. Kids drive vending sales because they impulse buy, and parents, they want to make their kids happy. Now, when you're looking at a school, of course, bigger is better. I mean, it's just that simple. The more kids, the more they're going to buy. But be careful. If there's a convenience store nearby, like a 7-Eleven or a Max, they are going to go to that store, and that store is going to give you problems because they're going to undercut you on price most of the time. It's going to be hard to compete, right? You're going to need to be fairly close to their level of pricing, which, does restrict you somewhat. And kids are going to go there because you're not going to be selling Slurpees and things like that. So if you do see a convenience store nearby, that may change some things for you. It's probably still worth it, but just keep that in mind. Also, you should be able to see student populations fairly easily for specific schools online. You should be able to get a read from their school websites, the district, whatever. And that'll give you a little bit of information to contextualize who to go after first. Number one biggest trap location is big retail chain break rooms. Think Target, Home Depot, Walmart, PetSmart, Canadian Tire. The list goes on. First of all, the income level of people that work at these places is generally low. And so they're bringing lunches in a lot of cases. When they're in the break room, they've got food with them and they're on a tight budget and they usually aren't going to buy anything from the vending machine. They need to be more prepared. They don't impulse buy a lot. And these days, especially in, the Targets, the Home Depots, maybe not Walmart so much, but a lot of these places, hardly anybody works here anymore. You wander the aisles of these retail stores trying to get somebody to unlock a cabinet for you and nobody is around to do it. Pretty much got to go up to cash and beg somebody to come and help you. So there's not nearly as many staff as there used to be. You know who's making the real money at vending in these places? The hot dog guy outside or whoever's got vending near the entrance. If they want you to put a vending machine in the break room, you've got to get the front entrance as well, or it's probably not worth it, even if it's a pretty good sized contract from number of locations perspective. Gyms. And you may be thinking, aren't gyms the same as rec centers? No, they are not. I'm being crazy here. Especially more traditional gyms that are focused around weightlifting equipment and, like a typical standard gym. Okay. Gym people are much more organized than most people, unless you're talking about, gym people, January 1st to January 14th, or maybe January 2nd to January 14th. Gym people, they're more organized. They're bringing Tupperware filled with chicken and rice. They're not buying chocolate bars. Even though there's pretty good foot traffic sometimes at these locations, you'll put a vending machine in and it'll do not well, hundreds of dollars a year. I'm not joking. Be very careful with these. Weightlifting and gym people, they're a bit of a different breed. You've got to have the right product. Like you got to have a really dialed in planogram with, things that are probably very high profit that somebody who's working out and forgot their shake might want, or, think protein bars, stuff like that. But overall, I would be very careful with standard gyms. The last is going to be medical centers. Medical centers are not like hospitals. I know you're thinking that. You're thinking,
isn't this the same thing, James?
No. It is not the same thing. There's a few key differences between a hospital emergency room, for example, versus a medical center. First is how you get there. At a medical center, you've got an appointment. You're planning on being there, which means you plan it for a certain time. You probably eat lunch before you go. Or whatever. There's a lot more planning involved versus the ad hoc nature of going to the emergency room or something along those lines. And that's a big difference. Also, there's not nearly as much traffic at these places as you think, right? Less staff, less people, and they just generally do not make you any money. And people who are there, they're focused on getting in. They come right on time mostly. Not many people are showing up 30 minutes before their appointment. And then they're focused on getting in and getting out. Be very careful with these. They often come bundled up in hospital contracts. So just be very prepared that these are going to suck. And if you can get out of them, do. Bad locations drain you month by month. Great locations, they change everything. You can't scale up when you have a bunch of bad machines dragging you down. When you have a bunch of great machines, it's easy to make money, buy more machines, and scale your vending business up so that you can have the time, money, and freedom that you deserve. That's why you got into vending in the first place. And that's what I teach. My decade of experience managing a crazy amount of machines and looking at every single facet of vending, from operations to technology to systems to merchandising, even to how to land the best accounts. I'll teach you how to land great revenue accounts and not get stuck with the gyms, the retail store break rooms, the medical centers of the world. Join me in my Skool program. It's not even $100 to get started. There's hardly any commitment. It's month by month. Come check it out. I'll put a link in the description, in the pinned comment, and just, I'm going to be putting out a video approximately once a week. Hit that subscribe button for more great free value as well. Until the next.